Hey Mayur, how are you?
Hey, hi. I'm doing well, man. How are you?
Oh, amazing, amazing. Thanks for joining us today.
Great, great. No, glad to be here.
Awesome. So, just to let you know, this is we're going to be streaming this session, and
Yeah,
people are very excited. We have a whole Vanar developer community, plus some other people, plus your community as well, that's going to be joining in. And it would be amazing to know about your product, what you guys are working on. And I know you sent a whole agenda, but just an overview of what you guys are doing. I know there's a lot of Web3 stuff happening, and it's very difficult, especially for new users, to kind of come in and join the Web3 space. And you're one
yeah,
of the companies that is kind of really working on the tech to make this super easy for Web2 users or any users really to begin their journey and then continuing on that journey, right?
yeah.
So just to start off, how about you just introduce yourself and a little bit about the product, and then we'll just start with the agenda for today.
Yeah, sounds good. So I have a bunch of scenarios where I'll just share screen. One is just like an architecture overview, walking people through how the inner workings are. And then I have like a ready-made sort of code base where we can showcase this chain abstraction to people. So if that works for you, then
That would be actually super awesome because seeing code is always good in this workshop.
yeah, cool. Let's do it.
In the beginning, if you don't mind, just giving the audience a little bit of background about yourself. You are the co-founder, you're the CEO, and I think people
Yeah.
like knowing how your journey was, even if you can for a brief moment, people can really get inspired by your journey. So kindly go ahead and let us know.
I am Mayur. I'm the founder and CEO at Arcana. Um, my background is that I've sort of been working in tech for almost 20 years now. To work in Web 2 for quite a while at large multinationals, then didn't like it at all, moved over to startups. My last job in Web 2 was working as like the head of products at a technology services company. We were a small firm, a boutique firm where we used to kind of take people's ideas to market essentially. So people would come to us with ideas, we'd become their design, tech, and go to market partners, and we'd like take them through their entire journey. And in that journey, I think me and my team, we would have probably built 30 40 different kinds of apps, all sorts of things, messengers, e-commerce, you name it. But yeah, in
Nice.
2017, yeah, quite a bit of different stuff there. But yeah, in 2017 is when I got into crypto. Like back in India, there would be these sort of exchanges, decentralized and centralized, started to pop up, and also it was the ICO boom, and sort of got in for all the coins, but then spent enough time with the tech to kind of stay for the tech and the all the lovely things that it promises to bring, decentralization, trustlessness, disintermediation, all of those sorts of things. So yeah, so we've been building in the space since about 2018, 2019, and Arcana is something that we've been working on for about 4 years now, and yeah, so that's sort of been like my journey so far.
Nice. So yeah, no, that's a good 20-year journey for sure that you summed up in 2 minutes. I'm sure there's lots more there. But yeah, very excited to hear. I think it's kind of rare to meet people with that much experience in the blockchain experience, and then to meet someone that has actually experience in the difficulties that users face in that in their journeys, and then solve those. So really excited about this session, about learn about chain abstraction, learn about the wallet stuff you guys have and the auth stuff you guys have. So let's begin.
Yep. So yeah, I think the best place to sort of start is like to give your audience like a clear idea of what it is when people mention the term chain abstraction, right? This is a pretty hyped up term. Lots of people want to get onto this hype train, but and different people have sort of different definitions or understanding of what chain abstraction is. But I'm not saying our definition is correct, but I think it's as close to correct as possible. So essentially, the way we'd like to describe chain abstraction is that what it does is it unifies a user's asset balances that are fragmented across different chains in a single account, right? So I think all of us have like MetaMask accounts where, I have some ETH here and some USDC spread across 2-3 different chains and things like that. And when I want to spend them on an app on a particular chain, I need to bridge things over and stuff like that. So what our chain abstraction aims to do is to basically unify your asset balances, like unify your USDC balances across, say, Ethereum and all the L2s and beyond, and then allow you to spend that unified USDC balance as one on any other chain almost instantly without you needing to explicitly bridge, right? So there can be many scenarios where you have, let's say, some assets spread across chain A, chain B, but you want to quickly spend them on chain C, which means you need to do 2 bridge transactions over from chain A to chain C, chain B to chain C, then make sure you have gas tokens on chain C to be able to kind of do whatever it is that you want to do. And all of this is a painstaking process that no user, newbie or degen or anyone in between should be exposed to. Honestly, this needs to be fully abstracted away, and that's the goal of chain abstraction, and that's what we are trying to solve for. Basically provide...
It's kind of neat, right? Because especially the beginners, what happens is they're farming usually tokens on different campaigns or whatnot, and these farm tokens are usually in like smaller amounts, right? So they could be on different chains, and then having that ability that you don't to spend it, because to spend it you want to make sure it's an amount where the gas fees is not more than the actual spend, right? So it's kind of neat, and I'm assuming that you're gonna go into the working, because to us it's still like a magic, right? That we can actually do this, because it's not possible in other wallets. In the mainstream wallets, it's not possible to do this at all. You have to go through the bridging mechanics. Like I did that recently, where I had to send $15 on Ethereum, and I had it on Polygon. By the time I switched it over, I had spent like $12 just on fees and stuff. So essentially, I was sending like $28 instead of $15. So I think that is also something that the developers, especially that are on the call, would love to know how that is, the inner workings are, how you're able to actually do it as well. So that'd be great to know.
Yeah, no, sure. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think the 2 main things that chain abstraction helps alleviate is, number one, I think most importantly, is this friction of needing to bridge. The act of bridging is something that needs to kind of go away and be eliminated or pushed to the background, basically. Because that means for developers, users don't come to their site and then suddenly have to switch context and move away and go to another interface and then figure out all of this stuff before they come back. So that is friction that results in churn, that results in the user saying, hey, I'm just going to do this later. I'll come back to it when I feel like doing it. And if you just remove that friction and the user never has to context switch, no additional cognitive load except for reviewing stuff on the same screen and clicking a few buttons, then I think we will have achieved very similar to UX to Web 2. And the second point is obviously something that comes slightly down the road for us, especially is the capital efficiency, cost efficiency sort of standpoint, where users are obviously, it completely depends at that moment what like the sort of costs are and things like that. So how do you make this entire system more cost efficient, more positive sum, so everyone sort of gets a share of the spoils, including the users who don't have to get this convenience but comes at a very hefty price. So that is something that we're focusing on. I think it'd be great to kind of show your community a quick demo of our wallet. Then I then I can talk about like the inner workings and perhaps even show how our SDK works. Okay, cool. All right. So yeah, what we have here is basically on the right here. If you see, this is the Arcana wallet. What it is it's the first chain abstracted wallet, and it is basically a standard EOA wallet, and it works exactly like how MetaMask and Rabi do. In fact, this address that you see here is just an address I imported from my MetaMask. And what we do differently at Arcana is that we basically, like I said earlier, we unify the user's asset balances across different chains. So I have USDT here about 220, and this is spread across 6 different chains. And so we show you the unified balance. I have ETH here again across 4 different chains, and we sort of show you the cumulative balance, and same for USDC, so on and so forth. And then the idea is to basically allow the users to be able to spend these unified balances, like I said, almost instantly without explicitly needing to bridge, right? So if you were to go to an app like Aave, right, and basically connect the wallet here, we basically enabled this chain abstracted experience for users on a bunch of different apps, and you can check this out on our website. But I go ahead and connect like my Arcana wallet here, and what we can show here, let me try and find a good example. I think let's do Polygon maybe. Polygon. All right, so I'm on Aave's Polygon market, and because of the fact that we have this extension installed, what Aave shows the user is actually the combined balance, whereas I actually have just 5.9 USDT on Polygon, but it shows me the combined 220 USDT that I have. Same thing goes for my USDC balance here, whereas on Polygon I actually have about 2.2, it shows 33. So this is sort of what we firstly enable, is that apps can now show this combined balance to the user, and now the user is just looking at their balances, not worrying about what chains they're on. So now if I try and supply this USDT to Aave, so right now I have about 5.9, right? So let's say I try and supply 10. There should be actually no way I can supply this 10 without bridging the first, right? So, but let's try it. I hit supply. And so now what the Arcana wallet is going to do is, very shortly it should show up. Yeah, it'll present me with this sort of intent screen, which says, I want to spend 10 USDT on Polygon on Aave. And then it says, I don't have it all on Polygon, but I have more on OP. And basically for a small fee, about 1 cent, it can make all of this happen. And all I have to do is review all of this and say, okay, I confirm. And now what's going to happen is that my intent is going to get verified by the network. And then the liquidity that I'm missing on the Polygon side is going to get collected from my OP balance. And then a solver is going to supply me the liquidity that I'm missing, the USDT that I'm missing on the Polygon side. And then once I have the full liquidity, the 10 USDT, then it's going to submit this transaction to Aave, and basically my supply will also get done. Everything will get done in basically like 1 click and a few seconds. This is taking longer than usual, but usually Polygon on Aave takes a little more time for the transaction to submit. But as you can see,
it's actually doing so much in the background right now, even when you were explaining it.
Exactly.
If you had to manually do this, it would, again, if you didn't just go back to sleep, it would actually take you at least 15-20 minutes to go through that whole manual process.
Exactly.
That is amazing. That's super amazing.
The liquidity missing got supplied to me in like 15 seconds, and the rest is Polygon taking Polygon time. But this is what we can enable. This will go through very shortly. Hopefully it does. But if you check out our intent explorer, it'll tell you that this is what we did. We took your balance or your USDT from OP, and then a solver, this particular solver supplied it on Polygon. This was the fee you paid, this was the breakup, etc. And you can check out all of this stuff, and then basically, you'll know what has happened behind the scenes. So
And
yeah,
that's pretty cool as well, right? Like the transparency part of it, that every single thing that's happening is all listed there, and it's very nicely listed there. That it's very easy to follow, and then you can expand it for details or whatnot if you need to know. And all that information is on chain as well, correct? Like the whole process, right?
No, absolutely. All of that is available. You can check out. So let me jump into actually explaining what happened behind the scenes, so you'll sort of get an idea of how things work. Yeah. So we'll just build this up from scratch, so people can follow along more easily. So typically, what happens is that a user has a wallet, and this wallet is what they use to sort of interact with an app. Let's say this app is on Arbitrum, right? And so now you have this app that is going to basically talk to this. This wallet is going to talk to this app, and you're able to kind of spend assets that you hold in this wallet on this app on Arbitrum. Let's say this app is an NFT app, and you're using your Arbitrum assets to mint an NFT on Arbitrum. Now, let's say that the situation for you as the user is that on Arbitrum, you have, let's say USDT again. Let's say you have 0 USDT on Arbitrum, and let's say you're using USDT to actually mint this NFT, but you have on OP, you happen to have 10 USDT. Now, typically what you would need to do is you would need to go to some sort of like a bridge from OP to Arbitrum and connect your wallet here and, basically do this bridge transaction so that you can go from having 10 USDT on OP to 10 USDT on Arbitrum, right? So you're bridging your USDT from OP to Arb. And in case I have funds elsewhere and I need more funds, let's say, for example, I have let's say I have funds on, I don't know, say Scroll, and I have 10 USDT there, right? Then I would need to go to another bridge from where I would basically have to do this, right? So it's the same process that I have to repeat. Bridge USDT from Scroll to Arc. And that's how I make this happen. But with Arcana, what we kind of enable is this system where you have what is called the Arcana chain. So this is a Cosmos based app chain, and what it does is that it essentially functions as a state machine, and I'll talk a bit more about this in a bit. So we have this. Another component that we have is the Arcana vault, and so these function like escrow contracts, right? And what we do is we deploy these contracts on various chains. So I have contract on OP, we have another contract on Scroll, so on and so forth. We also have another contract on Arbitrum. Now, the third piece that we have is, as part of our protocol, is what we call the Arcana solver network. And these guys are essentially liquidity providers, right? So it's a bunch of different people that run a node, and they hold liquidity on different chains and basically accept, these requests to front liquidity to the users. And so now how this works is that a user goes to this app on Arbitrum and is told that you can mint NFT for 20 USDT, and the user has 0, right? And so what the system sort of realizes is that the first thing that user does is says, hey, I have a bunch of funds, so it submits an intent to the Arcana network. And that intent is basically saying, I have 10 USDT on Arb, I have 10 USDT on Scroll, I want to spend 20 on Arbitrum, can we make that happen? And the Arcana app chain basically accepts this intent, it verifies that everything that the user is saying is correct. And then what we basically do is that there are collections that start to happen. So the first collection is the collection of 10 USDT from my Arbitrum balance to, my OP balance to my to this Arcana vault on the OP chain. And simultaneously in parallel, there is also a collection of 10 USDT that happens from my Scroll balance into the Arcana vault contract on Scroll. And so once these collections happen, we basically have an event that the solver network is listening to. And once it gets to hear about this event basically getting fulfilled, right? That these collections have been made. Now the solver is basically free to go ahead and supply this liquidity, because what these escrow contracts do is they escrow the user funds in lieu of receiving the funds on the destination chain, which is Arbitrum. Now these as soon as this happens, so now there is a resource lock placed on the user's fund. That means the user cannot double spend it. So it is indeed safe for any solver within the solver network to proceed to basically supply the liquidity that the user needs on the destination chain. So what happens is that this fill transaction, fill of 20 USDT on Arb happens. And then once I have the funds, I can go ahead and mint this NFT over here. So this is basically how this entire system works. What can also happen is, for example, just a quick example, I have again 0 USDT. I also have 0 ETH on Arbitrum, right? So what can happen is that, let's say I have 20 USDT on OP. What will happen is that it will collect a little extra, let's say a little extra USDT, but it will not only supply you this USDT on Arb, but also will supply you 0.0005 ETH on Arb, which you need for gas to be able to mint this NFT. So it just makes the collections in USDT, but gives you whatever assets you need on the destination chain. So this is sort of like how the system works.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna mention earlier as well. That one of the use cases that happens all the time is this gas fees one, where you're not spending or you don't need ETH, for example, on Ethereum for anything, but the gas fees, and the amount is so small that sometimes just having to bridge that over, it just it frustrates you that, hey, I just need like a tiny amount. Why do I have to go through this whole process and everything? No, that's awesome, and I'm glad you explained it on the whiteboard, because building it up really explained it very well. Awesome.
Yeah, so this is something that we've been working on for about a year and a half now. It was in the middle of 2023 where we had basically released a bunch of different products. We had put out our wallet abstraction product, which is the Arcana Auth. It allows users to sign into Web3 apps, which is their email or social accounts. And, the Arcana network would give these users a non-custodial wallet right inside the app. So, you're basically, again, abstracting away the complexities that come with, installing a third-party extension, managing seed phrases, private keys, all of those sorts of things. So in a way, what that meant was we were taking the user from the landing page of Web3 apps to the homepage in a much shorter and a very familiar way. And so we did that, and then we released our gasless SDK next, because we were like, okay, so we got users from landing page to homepage, and now users need to do a bunch of interactions. And some of these interactions cost gas, and the user may not have gas, and so we need a way for the developers to be able to sponsor this gas token. So we built that SDK out, and in effect, what that did was it allowed users to do all these interactions on the homepage, which eventually would lead to one checkout page, right? If you take that e-commerce sort of analogy. And then we started to think of, what's the best way to do checkout? And in a world where we were clearly progressing to this multi-chain future, people's asset balances are already fragmented, and we are probably going to go into a world where there are going to be hundreds and thousands of chains, right? Like Uniswap and Hyperliquid, all of these guys are leading the way and saying that, if you're big enough, if you're large enough, or if you have aspire enough, then it's very likely that you're going to want your own chain. And so if that is going to be the future, then, this bridging business of me going to a bridging interface and moving assets around and things like that, or moving small amounts of ETH to be able to do one transaction. And I mean, let alone it being like a time sensitive one, right? So just imagine you are all in on, say, virtuals, that ecosystem, and have your assets on Base, and then Trump launches his meme coin and you have nothing on Solana. So what do you do, right? And you're seeing that green candle go up, and how do you ape in? So this is how you ape in. This is how you do things much faster. There's less cognitive load. You should be able to go to Radium and just connect your wallet, and Radium tells you have no Solana, but you have all of these other assets elsewhere. You have all this ETH, and you want to quickly sort of make all of this happen and still go ahead and buy, and you say, yes, I like the fees is fine. And suddenly I'm moving from ETH to Solana to buy Trump or Radium, and it's all just happening behind the scenes. I'm clicking a couple of buttons and it's done. So this is what we want to kind of make possible, right? This is made possible in Web2 through credit cards and debit cards and Stripe. So anyone can go integrate Stripe, have this thing set up, and I start accepting payments. I can start selling goods tomorrow, right? It's totally possible. But in Web3, it's so much more of a headache. Like, where is my app built? Where does the user have funds? How do we make this sort of thing work? So we were like, what's the equivalent of like a credit card checkout experience with Stripe like? And we want to build that. And that's what we started doing. And then in 2024, people started calling it Chain Abstraction. We were like, wonderful. The industry has given it a name, and so our ideas are getting validated. So we doubled down in 24, we started building, and then middle of 24, we started putting out demos. We were the first to put out demos. And then we put out the Arcana wallet late last year. We were first to put out like a real functioning product. And yeah, we put out our SDK just again late last year in December. And yeah, we're in testnet right now. We're hoping to get to mainnet fairly soon, and hopefully we can make it happen.
Sweet, this is amazing. And I'm just going to take 2 minutes here from you, just to let you know that there's some comments and some praises for you, by the way. So I'll just go ahead and just cipher through them. So the first one is for blockchain newbies who are just starting. Can someone explain what bridging is? I think the simplest way to understand is that there is different blockchains out there, and anybody can actually launch a token on any of these blockchain. So as an example, you can have, as Mayur mentioned, you can have USDT on Vanar chain. You can also have it on Polygon. You can also have it on Ethereum, in different places. But when you have, and how, it's up to you, right? Depends on where you're getting it from. So let's say you're a freelancer and you're getting paid in ETH on these different chains. At some point, you're gonna have, let's say for the example, say 10 ETH in on a different chain, on Ethereum, on Vanar, on some other chain, and you will have to manually, if you have to spend, let's say you have 10, 10, 10, and you have to buy something worth $30 on a market, 30 ETH on a marketplace, you'll have to actually go to a different dApp, which is called a bridge, whose sole job is that it will convert your 10 ETH on Ethereum into 10 ETH on Vanar chain. And then you also have 10 ETH on Polygon, so you load the same dApp and you convert your 10 ETH on Polygon onto Vanar chain, and now you have 30 ETH on Vanar chain, and now you can spend it to buy whatever asset you wanted to buy, right? But this whole process of going to a dApp and bridging it over from one chain to another and putting it all together is time consuming. And as Mayur mentioned, sometimes there's actually airdrop for doing some tasks really quickly, and you can dip into some prize pool or something. But if the whole process is taking you so long and you don't actually understand how it works, you might miss out on these opportunities. Plus, why do the hectic work when there is a wallet like Arcana which will just do it for you, right? So that's what bridging is essentially, is getting assets from one chain to another, which could be NFTs, which could be like normal, your coins, tokens, whatever. Next is, this is awesome, lifesaver to be honest. Can we implement this in our project? So that's a very open-ended question, but Mayur, I'll just kind of ask this to you. Where have you, I know it is, there's an SDK that you guys have and everything, so people can implement in their projects, but where do you see the most implementation in for Arcana? And what kind of projects, category-wise, I guess?
Yeah, I'd say Arcana is there to help you spend your assets more easily. I look at this like, anywhere where if all of Web3 was Web2 and wherever Stripe would fit in, that's where this fits in that sense, right? So, but I think to give a more concrete answer, I'd say the best uptake for this will be in DeFi, and because that's where typically people need to spend more often than not. You're either supplying liquidity into some pool, you are trying to swap, you are trying to stake, you're trying to do all sorts of things to make things happen. We have a bunch of examples of exactly this. We show how chain abstraction can work on something like Uniswap, on a money market like Aave. We show how it can work with a restaking platform like Renzo, and yeah, so this can work. I think DeFi will be the primary uptake, but I think this is basically one of those transformative technologies that is coming for all of Web3 in general.
Yeah, I think I'm from the gaming background, so I know it works for games as well. So I mean, if you have if you're building a game in Unity or whatever, and you need to kind of plug in this SDK and make your users' lives easier. In certain cases where your assets in different, I have a game as well, Nitro League, and it has assets on different chains, right? So that means users have to come into the game, and then it just makes things easier if they don't have to worry about bridging all of this stuff over and which chains their assets on and all that kind of stuff. So I think basically that was that. Is it built in layer 2? That's the next question.
Is it built in layer 2? I mean, so we have our own Cosmos-based app chain. Like I said earlier, I forgot to kind of go into those details. But like I said, it works as a state machine, but it's an app chain. Like you if you want to build with us, you don't have to deploy anything to our chain. You have to make 0 smart contract updates. It's a simple SDK that just plugs into your front end. That's all. A basic integration will probably take you a couple of minutes. But what this sort of design allows us to do is it allows us to work with different chains, right? So we are not limited by what are the chains that we can support. Like right now, of course, we support 7 different EVM chains, but very soon we're going to start supporting non-EVM chains. I think next week is the first non-EVM chain that we will announce, and then thereafter, of of course, you have all these other like non-EVM, multi-VM sort of environments that are launching, and we'll be there to support all of it.
That is huge, man. That is huge, because I think that's one thing that most developers like kind of just scare away from, and EVM and like supporting both. I haven't seen many projects that do that actually, because of the complexity behind the scene. I would assume
the design sort of lends itself to it, right? So you're taking things that would typically happen on chain, you're taking them off chain, but you're moving risk away from the user. So that's sort of like the design philosophy that we have, is that sure, we're taking some of these things off chain to a solver network, but it's also the solver network who are assuming most of the risk when it comes to these intents and collections and fulfilling and things like that. Because even if we collect funds from the user, if a solver does not fill my intent, then the user just gets their money back. No harm, no foul. But if what happens when the user's funds are stuck, are basically collected, and then a solver fulfills, they need to get their money back from our vault, right? So that's where they sort of trust the protocol to do its job. And so our Cosmos chain acts like this app chain, which will have its own set of validators, and it's what ensures that, and it's for assuming this risk that the solvers essentially charge like whatever fee they want to charge. So yeah.
Cool. There is someone that said your network is poor, but it's working completely fine for me. So I think whoever commented that, your network is poor. All right, and then Arcana to the moon. There's one, and this one's a very nice comment. So the way Mayur is explaining and solving a major problem, that is a great CEO. Good job.
Thank you.
Some fans in there, I guess. What's uniqueness compared to MetaMask? And I think some other viewer answered that, which is MetaMask doesn't show unified balances. So I think as in the demo, for those who did catch that, basically, again, the balances are very neatly shown on different chains, and you can just spend them. And the demo of connecting it to Aave was a very good example of that. I really love that. It's a MetaMask killer. Let's hoot for that. Let's all get Arcana stuff so it can be. One question about this. So you mentioned at the start of your session that the demo, that you had a MetaMask already and you imported it. So for the viewers here, essentially, they can just have whatever their existing MetaMask wallet ID is, they can just use that and use your product, right? It's not a new ID doesn't get created like in most.
I mean, you can do that also. It's like, I've been using MetaMask, I want to use Rabbi now, but I can either start using Rabbi with with a brand new wallet, with a brand new seed phrase, brand new private key, or I can just import an existing private key that I have on MetaMask into Rabbi and start using it. So it's the same way, like anytime anyone starts to use a new wallet, you can always create a new address or just import an existing one. And that's what we support.
And to be specific, it's EVM wallets only right now.
Yeah, it's EVM only right now. Our first non-EVM is likely next week.
Amazing. Can't wait to see which one it is. Do you take care of phrase seeds? I think that's the private key they're talking about, or it's my responsibility to take care of the phrase. I have the answer, but why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, no, it's a self-custody wallet. Like I said, it's exactly like MetaMask and Rabbi. So you need to take care. We don't touch it. We don't have access to it.
And that is true decentralization, right? They don't want to. They shouldn't have to. How can you enlighten us on real estate investment? Blah blah blah. I think we're gonna stop with the questions for a bit because there is so tons. I didn't realize there were so many. I just scrolled down. So we're gonna take a break and we're gonna go back to your session thing. Did you have more notes in the agenda that are left over so we can cover those?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've covered quite a bit. I can just show what the SDK sort of integration looks like for your users, if that's helpful, or maybe I can just leave links for stuff if that's better. Whatever you
A,
suggest.
a glimpse of the code is always nice.
Okay, cool. So let's do that. I'll share my screen again here. So we'll not do live integration just in the interest of time. So I'll just do an existing. So what we'll do is we'll share two repos. We have one repo where the Arcana network is not integrated. We have another repo where it is integrated, and you can start to see the difference. And so the idea with the SDK is that you can now use any wallet, including your MetaMask, but use apps and still get the power of chain abstraction. So that's what we want to sort of make possible. So let me share my screen. Okay, so I have a very simple NFT minter project. It's very, very simple. It's very straightforward. I have my NFT contract, again, like a base ERC721 deployed to Arbitrum. And what we've done is that, let me show you what that sort of looks like also. Yeah, so this is what you see here, right? It's simple, like this one NFT, you mint it for a certain amount, and you connect your wallet, etc., etc. So like I said, this is deployed to Arbitrum, and if I go to my MetaMask here, I switch over to Arbitrum. If you see here, I have like next to no ETH over here, right? Whereas this costs about 0.005 ETH to mint. So now if I were to connect my wallet, it will fetch my Arbitrum balances and it will show me that I have nothing. But now that we've integrated the Arcana wallet, the Arcana Chain Abstraction SDK, we can actually make this happen with just my MetaMask. So if I go ahead and hit connect here, what's going to happen is I'm going to sign in. This is your standard like CV signature, just a signature. And now what you can see here is it shows me my combined balance. I definitely don't have this on Arbitrum, right? And what is this? Yeah, you can see here I have nothing, but across all my chains I have this much, right? So this is what, if we go to something like, say, I think the bank has that. Yeah. So if you go and check here, then you will see that on Arbitrum I have next to no ETH, but I have more on OP. On OP I have a bunch. On Ethereum I have a bunch. On Base I have some, etc., etc., right? So this is what it sort of like accumulates and shows me. And if I hit mint here, and again, this is just a normal NFT site that anyone could have built, and it is just using MetaMask. The only additional thing is the Arcana front-end SDK integration, which I'll show you in a bit. But if I hit mint, what you can do is show the user this sort of like an intent screen like we saw in the wallet, where it says, okay, you have very little on Arbitrum, but you have more on OP. And again, for a small fee, we can make all of this happen. So I'll say allow. And now let's see the experience with MetaMask. So first is me submitting my intent to the network. I do that. It's just again a signature. I'm not paying for anything there. Once that happens, then this is the collection happening. So from my OP balance, my ETH gets transferred over to the Arcana vault. That was the first step. Now what is happening behind the scenes is that the solver network is being notified, and I'm getting the funds on the Arbitrum side, and I've received those funds. Now I can actually go ahead and mint. So if I do this and I just hit confirm, this is going to mint my NFT. Everything got done. I didn't have to bridge. I didn't have to move anywhere. Nothing needed to happen. And this all came from like a very simple integration, right? So
super nice. And I mean, for normal users that just hits confirm, they won't even notice anything.
Yes. Exactly. So if you see the actual sort of like integration, right? So this is a very simple project that we built with VM, which is, I think, the flavor of the month. Most people just use VM and Wagmi, I think. So I built most of this with AI on Cursor. So my coding skills are that good. But yeah, it was just quite simple to build this out, deploy a contract, and then build this front end, and then add in this Arcana SDK. So if you go to basically the places where the integration is, so all we have to do is, first is the wallet connect part. Let me see. Okay, yeah, sorry. My utilities, first we just need to kind of do this one thing where, we create this instance of something called get CA that we can then export and then just basically use it. It's like a helper. But once I have that, I can go to this use wallet where again, it's just a simple hook in my React app. What we do is, we again use that get CA to get our chain abstraction instance. And once we have that, so it essentially is just giving me this custom provider, right? And then we initialize the SDK. And once we have that, it just becomes like this very, very simple thing that and this is what we use to kind of fetch this unified balance that you saw. So you just need to replace whatever you're doing right now in terms of fetching balance and just replace it with this get unified balance method in the SDK. And you're now showing unified balance for any asset. It could be ETH, it could be USDC, USDT, or you can just say, get me all my unified balances. And it'll just give you a big like JSON dump. And then in my actual page where the minting stuff happens, most of my code is going to be just front-end improvements to make it look good, right? Like that dialogue that you saw and those sorts of things. But otherwise, I have this handle mint method. When I hit the mint button, it's going to basically call this. And I have my standard way in which, my wallet client, VM wallet client is going to write to the contract and it's talking to the contract just like it would otherwise. Like I said, no changes to your smart contract, no changes to the way your smart contract execution code is also written. The only change here is this, right? All you've done is you're saying when you're initializing your wallet client, all you're saying is, use the custom provider. And that's it. Instead of using your standard Windows.Ethereum, you're using custom provider, and then everything just happens for you. And this basic stuff is just like a 5-minute integration. And then your work is mainly going to be things like, this stuff, showing this dialogue. Most of my code time went in this. But outside of that, the integration was just very straightforward. So yeah, that's what that looks like.
Nice, super easy, I guess, for newcomers especially. I think awesome. Let me just go here. So let me just see if there's any questions related to this coding. But no. Web 5. What? Somebody just mentioned Web 5.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. But there are things here I think worth addressing. One is I think someone was saying that they're going to build a project on Vanar and definitely going to use Arcana. So I think we should get that conversation going so builders can actually start building. And
definitely, I think what we do is we run our internship programs we intended to do it a couple of times a year, but we have done last summer and this summer for sure we'll be doing it. And before that, for sure, we'll have like the Arcana stuff sorted out for Vanar. That way, any builders that are coming in will have an option to just use this in their apps. That's amazing. Other than that, I think we got Arcana token live.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. And then, what's the token?
The token ticker is XAR, and it's live on Bybit, Gate, and Mexi.
Nice. I think having Mexi just makes it easier in most regions, anyways. Web 5 are just joke questions, so I'm gonna skip those, and that's it. That's pretty much for the questions. So that's awesome. Really amazing session. I think right. My favorite part was the whiteboard. because that really explained everything. I think the first question I have had was how does this actually work behind the scene, and that got answered there. And having you on the session yourself as the CEO and co-founder of the project, it was just a great pleasure. Uh, as ending notes, is there something you would like to tell the users about Arcana, or even for them as well? Because they're all, most of the viewers that are listening from Vanar side at least are the ones that are either students, developers, or early startups. And they're looking for these kind of latest and trending technologies that are coming out and trying to understand them better. And who better to understand it from than people like yourself?
Yeah, no,
So,
sure.
yeah. So any kind of
Um,
advice, any kind of last words you have for them would be really appreciated.
yeah, just to close out, I think very quickly, we like I said, we showed you our wallet. It's live on the Chrome Web Store. You can just go look for it there. Arcana wallet, just search for it on the Chrome Web Store. You should find it, or just a Google search will also lead you to it. Would love for you guys to try it out. It's on testnet, but you can use mainnet assets and just give it a spin. Let us know if you have any issues. You can reach out to us via DMs on Twitter. Our DMs are open. We are at Arcana Network on Twitter. We are also at Arcana Network on Telegram, where we have like a fairly large community. You can join there and ask questions, tell us the issues that you face. Someone or the other will respond to you and make sure that this stuff gets resolved. For developers, first thing for you to do is to head over to sdk.arcana.network. We have a very sweet little demo app there, and then that has links to our documentation where you can actually start trying it out today in your app. And would love to kind of get feedback there as well. So like I said, very easy to reach out to us and find me or one of my colleagues either on Twitter or on our Telegram, and we're here to help.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I think everybody listening really enjoyed the session. It's one of the best sessions I had so far in terms of information and also exposure. Really glad to have you, everybody that's listening. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And this session it is being recorded, and probably in a few days we'll post it on YouTube, and we'll share the links on social as well. So anybody who missed out or any friends that you want to share it with, feel free to do that. And do not forget to like and stuff and then follow Arcana social networks. That way, it's very easy to forget about that little step, but it goes a long way in supporting such a great project. So make sure you guys do follow them. Make sure you guys do support them. Do try it out for your own knowledge and growth. And if you have any questions, again, we're always here to help. All right. Thank you so much, Mayur. Again,
No,
really
pleasure. Thanks for having us and letting us talk about our stuff. Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay,
All right.
everybody. Bye-bye.